Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep those cameras rolling. Trying to make Jennifer laugh. I already made Rick laugh. Now it is Jennifer's turn. What's that?
It's not hard to make me laugh.
It's much harder to make Jennifer laugh.
It is?
No.
I think I laughed.
It's much harder to actually keep this song going with lyrics I'm making up as I go.
It sounds like the Walmart song when they would roll back the prices.
It's like one of those old Western songs, Rollin', Rollin'.
I know, but
that?
do you remember the commercial when they would say like rollin',
Oh, the
rollin'?
rollbacks?
Yeah.
Nope, don't remember that. I know about the rollbacks, I don't remember that commercial.
Yeah, I remember when they did that.
We got interrupted in our shooting for, what was that, about 9 minutes?
Yep.
Oh wait, did I stop my timer? That's all a lot in life. 1, 2, 3, go.
Jennifer Hardy, har.
Believe it or not, welcome to the Lawyer Dana Show, the Lawyer Dana Podcast. Wow, we have a lot to talk about. And we're gonna do it right after this.
Welcome to the Lawyer Dana Podcast.
So we get a lot of questions, like people are like, oh, it takes me that long to enter my time. Mm-hmm. And it was, what was that, 30 seconds maybe? I don't know. But as a lawyer, like, you live and die by the amount of time that, I mean, you have to enter your time. Because in Texas,
If you want to get paid.
you're required to enter your time. And there's a lot of lawyers, and there's somebody who is a competitor. And this is what you have to be careful of. There is a competitor to the Worthy Vision Company that is teaching about flat fees. And there are plenty of different things that flat fees are great for, not family law. Yeah. It's not good for the lawyers, it's not good for the clients. We experimented, we tried, it does not work right. Not in Texas anyway. And one of the things that they are saying is that the advantage is that you don't have to track your time. You can just charge a flat fee, and it doesn't matter whether you put a lot of time or not a little time.
Why wouldn't you want to track your time? What if you spent like 200 hours on that case? Because that happens, especially in family law, because you've got clients that are constantly calling. You don't know if you're going to have a needy client who needs a lot of attention, who needs a lot of support.
And then there's clients that you might not. And the thought of it is, they'll average out. And I had one attorney about that because of the nature of this. Flat fees work real well if it's a set amount of work every time. And the difference between having a needy client versus not is having like a 20-minute longer conversation or less. But there was her name's Laura Roach. She's a very good family law attorney in town, and her husband is John Roach, the judge from the, I think it's 296, anyway, Collin County judge. Great people, amazing. And Judge Roach is the one that your husband is a little bit, if there's ever a judge that intimidates your husband, I think he's the only one. Yes. Your husband's a very confident, very competent attorney, but when he walks into Judge Roach's court, he's still scared. He's scared like a first-year attorney. He does awesome, and I love that fear exists for him, because he is that much more absolutely letter perfect. Like I think Judge Roach has him well trained to be amazing in his court. We have a joke, like, if you're going to be in Judge Roach's court, bring a toothbrush, because he might throw you in jail. You never know. He's not that bad, but it's kind of a joke about it. But I've seen him throw people in jail. One young man they were on probation. It was a couple, and CPS was involved, and they had their child taken away and came back. And this couple, oh so brilliant. Here's an example of what not to do. They did drugs together the night before.
Oh, wow.
And the father of the baby that they were there about, so the man, the young man, they were both young, in their early 20s. The young man lied to Judge Roach, and the young woman very wisely did not lie to Judge Roach.
Well, just looking
and
at
the
Judge
young
Roach,
man
you
went to
shouldn't lie
jail.
him.
Do not.
Yeah.
That dude's
kind of scary a little bit.
He's like a human lie detector.
Yeah.
People are like think that you can get, no, he can tell. He can tell. And the way he comes out, like he's under control of his courtroom. He's under very good control of his courtroom. And it's great. I mean, I'm a big fan of him as a judge. I think he's great. I love that he's a judge, and I love
very nice.
He's very nice and
his wife's
human
very
being.
lovely. So yes,
they are both lovely people. I like them a lot, and he is very, very smart and very wise. He is Solomonistic. Is that a word? Did I make another one up?
Maybe.
And very smart and runs a good court. And I love how consistent he is. He's very consistent. That's what you want in a judge.
Yeah.
I'd almost want a bad judge who is at least consistent, more than a judge who sometimes is great and sometimes is really bad.
We're not saying Judge Roach is
No, he's a great judge, and he's consistent in being great. And one of the things that makes him great is he is consistent. And he follows the law.
Well, when they're consistent as an attorney, you kind of know what to expect.
Even if they're not going to follow the law, I would like them to consistently not follow the law, so I can advise my clients, this judge doesn't follow this law, here's what's going to happen in court. And we can negotiate and deal with that appropriately. And that's where they go. But it shouldn't, it's not, there's two bad words in family law. The F word and the S word. And the F word is fair, and the S word is should. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're totally right. You're totally right. It shouldn't be that way. But it is. And you can cry about how it should be like a punished child, or you can be an adult and make a wise decision of, we are dealing with what is, not what should be. I agree with you. It shouldn't be like that. But it is. I agree with you. It's wrong. And it's not fair. But it is. And we're going to deal with it. We're not going to make decisions based on what it should be. We're going to make decisions based on what it is. And yeah, we can negotiate and get real good to where we can get really well towards fair. And we can get really well towards how it should be. And when we focus on what's healthy, we do get how it should be. That's how you get to what it should be. Because court ain't about what it should be, and it ain't about what's fair. You're gonna get should-ish, and you're gonna get fair-ish. And just like Dave Ramsey says about financial, like don't do Dave-ish. Yeah, don't do Dana-ish.
Right.
I'm pretty well on Dave Ramsey's plan, and I also, for people that are very well disciplined and know for sure that they're not going to have these problems, like my advice is you can take a little bit more risk than what Dave Ramsey says if. And I can go into more detail about different things, and I understand, like, okay, that's an intelligent risk you're taking financially. That's not necessarily Dave, or maybe it is, but if you're going to do that, then you should.
Right.
And it's actually, you must. This is what you do. These are the decisions that you make.
Bringing up financials is a big point. I think a lot of divorces are because of financial reasons, and it's been very eye-opening for me when I look at clients and I look at their financial situation, and I'm like, wow, I now understand why you're getting a divorce. Holy crud, you got $100,000 in credit card debt? Like, how did you do that? Or, I've seen where couples have just gone out and just bought and like fancy cars, fancy house. It's like they got to live like the Joneses.
People that have made $300,000 or $400,000 a year for 10 years and have nothing because they spend it all. They don't understand investing. It's horrible, and it destroys marriages.
It's so funny is because I look at my financial situation with my spouse, and I'm like, wow, we're actually in a really good space. Even when I'm stressing,
you're welcome.
When I'm
because
even stressing about
forced that down Daniel's throat like 5 or 10 years ago.
But here's the thing, Daniel's always been very good with money.
He really has, yeah.
I mean, Daniel has always...
Even when he bought his toys and he would buy one to play with and one to hold and keep pristine, and he sold those toys and paid for law school.
Can you talk to my wife and tell her why I do it?
I mean,
I'm saving for retirement.
He sold...
I don't know that I would invest in toys for retirement.
He sold a comic book to pay for my engagement ring.
Yeah, crazy.
It's insane.
I mean, but if it works, okay.
It does.
I would definitely diversify, and I buy stocks and other investments, and I'm a big fan of real estate.
But I'm just saying, like, just seeing some of the clients' situations, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys would have benefited so much if you've been in like a financial program or you sat down and you were more disciplined.
If we haven't actually recommended Dave Ramsey on this show yet, I'm now recommending Dave Ramsey, and we need an affiliate link, Brenda.
Yeah, because, you know, I think a lot of problems are the financials, and if you can get that under control and you can be able to be like secure, because isn't that a lot of the problems? It's security.
There's a triangle, and the triangle is, Rick, I don't know if we can get a shot of actually our table over here, but it's actually a pyramid is what this represents. And the bottom level of the pyramid is security.
So love,
without security,
this
is something that R. John Robbins taught me, and that we learned through his program. And this is one of the best things I think he's taught, is at least for family law, and for entrepreneurship. This is an excellent lesson. Is that he taught this in context of entrepreneurship, but it's actually in marriage and in everything. Is that the base of the pyramid is security. You have to have security, and because without security, you can't have self-esteem and you can't have love.
Right.
A lot of people do it exactly backwards. They go, if I fall in love, then I'll feel good about myself, and then I'll build a life and have security. And that's exactly wrong. It falls over, it crumbles, it crushes. And he explained it in the context of a tiger. He goes, if a tiger is chasing you, does it matter who you're in love with? No. Does it matter how good you feel about yourself, as long as you have enough self-esteem to not just take me because I'm, as long as you're just this side of suicidal, right?
Right.
What is the first thing you do? You run from the tiger because you need security first. You run into the cave, and then the tiger can't get you in the cave, and then you feel good about yourself, and then you can feel good, and then you can look around the cave to see who you can be in love with.
Right.
The basis that you build on is security, then self-esteem, then love. If you don't have self-esteem, you can't be in a relationship with love because you're insecure, and that destroys your relationship.
Well, it goes back to children. When you have a baby has to feel secure, right? They have to feel like they're protected, and by that protection creates that love.
Exactly.
They know that they're loved. So it's the same
They
principle.
feel good from the protection. That's self-esteem, and then from that, love is actually a result and appreciation. Most people have a very wrong interpretation of what love is. When you say I love you, you're saying I accept you, I welcome you, I invite you into my presence, I appreciate you. And most people confuse the feeling of infatuation. Infatuation is the result.
Right.
Love is actually a choice. And a lot of people feel this infatuation, which is not love. It's temptation, it's desire, it's interest, it's lust, it is curiosity, it is admiration. It's all these things that then gives you a result about that. And then people unwisely, foolishly think, and they go, oh, I love you. And then because now that they've said that, they go, oh, I love you. And they lie and fool themselves. It's totally wrong. Love is a choice. And because they feel infatuation, then they make the choice. And then that negative cycle happens. And that's the wrong way to do it. If you have enough self-esteem, and you have the wisdom to know that's infatuation, oh, that's a little bit of infatuation, but a wise person can take or leave infatuation and interest, and then you look in and then you find, oh, no, they're not the right one. I'm choosing not to love you. I love you like I love others, and love your fellow man, which is a choice as well.
Right.
That choice to love and accept them as humans, but there are people that you have to love from a distance. And people, when you say I'm in love with you, that's misinterpreting. I'm uncontrollably infatuated with you. Now the way I'm in love with my wife is because I made a choice, and we are in love, and we both have security, and we both have self-esteem and validation of that choice, of validating that and giving each other the trust and building that security together to where our love is indistinguishable from the infatuation. But there are plenty of times where we are intentionally making the choices that will result in each other feeling and growing and harvesting and collecting and nurturing that feeling of infatuation that most people mistakenly assume is love.
Well, and I think if someone's having issues in their marriage and they're struggling with their marriage and they're thinking or contemplating divorce, they need to sit back and look at what is causing those issues. Is it your financials? Is it because you're very insecure in your relationship? Is it, Are
you insecure yourself?
Yeah, exactly. So, this is a great tip to go back and look at it. How are you security-wise in your relationship, and is that something that can be fixed so that you can save whatever's going on in that situation?
So there are people that, for example, there are spouses, and this is a Dave Ramsey thing that has a solution for this, which is a monthly budgeting meeting. But there are some spouses that don't know anything about the finances. Mm-hmm. And then when one of the spouses, when the one who knows about the finances get mad and then cut them off, that there is no security in that. And then the other person can't have self-esteem, and love just is destroyed. And your marriage there is destroyed.
Here's
because
number one.
They don't have the security.
If you don't share your finances with your spouse, shame on you.
Shame on both of you.
Yeah, because
the one that doesn't have the information should not tolerate that, and the one that is doing that is at fault.
Yes.
And shame on, it's even worse.
You need to be able to be very open about where you're at in your financial situation. And if you're
once
not
a month
doing
at least,
that,
it's called the monthly budgeting meeting.
You should have access to every single account that you both have.
Nothing should be hidden from the other.
It blows my mind when we have consultations with clients or potential clients who have no idea. They're like, I don't know.
And have no access either.
And I don't
You're
know
a prisoner.
if my spouse has a 401k, and I don't know.
That's not a marriage.
Yeah.
That is ownership. You're a slave. That's slavery. And marriage is not a master and slave relationship. That part about the Bible, we're like, but the man is supposed to lead and the woman is supposed to follow. That's not master and slave.
You should not have two separate accounts. You should both be
You
on
could.
all
Well, hold on.
My wife and I don't have something. Everything's separate.
We have, Summer and I have some joint accounts together, and we have some separate accounts, but we both have full access to each.
Right.
Some accounts she's head and I'm authorized user, and I'm head and authorized user, and we have retirement accounts because we both work, so her retirement accounts are in her name, I'm the beneficiary, and I have full access to log in and check. Summer and I, on an absolute daily basis, and even when we're on vacation, when we come back from vacation, within 2 days of the vacation, that's all completely updated. Right now, today, I can tell you what our financial situation was yesterday, and Summer probably, because it's literally her job with all our companies, she checks the money every day. She's the controller financially. That's what she checks, and she spends about a half an hour a day on it. Mm-hmm. And that's with 2 companies and our personal. And we know exactly where our cash flow position is, what our net worth is. It's calculated on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And she has full access to my finances. I have full access to hers. But yes, there are some accounts that are in her name, some accounts that are in my name. But we understand that it's ours. All of it is ours. Mm-hmm. There is nothing separate in our marriage. It's all my worldly goods I do thus pledge.
Right.
And it was real difficult our first year.
It was for us too. I remember we didn't have our account merged. I had my account, he had his, and I was a very independent person. I was like, I have to have control of all my stuff. I've been single.
Well, that was your security.
Right, and I was.
And how do you risk your own security? You should not risk your own security. The reason why Summer has all of mine and I have all of hers is because together we have added the security to each other.
Right.
Independently, even without each other, we are still secure. Mm-hmm. And the key to a healthy marriage is either one of us could walk at the decision to do it without our security being jeopardized. And our self-esteem is solid. And because our security is solid and our self-esteem is solid, we have a solid love relationship on the top.
Right.
And even when we argue or have disagreement, whatever it is, we don't threaten each other's self-esteem ever, and we don't threaten each other's security ever.
Right.
Never. I don't try and say, I'm taking the blah, blah, blah money from you, and I'm going to punish you by taking away your security. That's not a thing that we ever do, and that's a choice.
And it's not even just that. If something were to happen to you or something were to happen to her, you need to be able to have access to that. You need to be able to know what to do. And
I need to be able to be trusted and be the type of person. Her self-esteem and her security is never threatened by me, because if I decide we're getting a divorce, I will never, ever choose to do that, and she knows that, and I don't even give myself the power to be able to do it.
Well, here's a dating tip. If you're dating someone you don't trust, don't marry them.
If you haven't had, if you're engaged and you haven't had a conversation about how you're all going to do your money, but you've just assumed, like, if you can't say, yes, on this date, and here are the times, and here is what my fiance said about how we're doing the money, if you haven't done that, you're not ready to get married, and you're probably going to get a divorce. And if you're afraid that, oh, if we have a conversation about money, like, I don't want to do that, because then what happens? They might call the marriage off.
Yes.
Then you should call the marriage off. You fool!
That's the problem nowadays. People are so wrapped up into a wedding and a wedding gown and the ceremony and all these fun things and the engagement ring, and there's so much more to marriage than all of that.
All of that is nonsense in comparison.
That is a one day. Let me tell you, one day that goes so fast. Like, I have blimps of our wedding. Like, I don't remember everything. It just went so fast.
Summer and I didn't even do one. We got married, and then we're gonna do one, and later on we were like, do you even want to do that? I'm like, no, it sounds like
work
and cost.
I know it costs a lot of money.
So what we did, rather than spend like $20,000 on getting married, we gave ourselves $1,000 a year anniversary budget to go to dinner, because as we did in a previous episode, my love language is quality time. And so our quality time is like, we go eat whatever we want. And on our, was it 5-year? I think on our 5-year anniversary, somewhere, maybe it was 10, we doubled the budget, because we realized, $20,000 invested, even at a 5% rate of return, pays for that anniversary dinner. That anniversary dinner is free from now on.
Right.
And at a 10% rate of return, and we do better than that, that's $2,000 a year. And we had our investments and things are growing with that. And so we doubled our budget at year 10. And then, was it last year?
I don't even want to talk about your anniversary dinner. I was so mad at you. She didn't come to Bob's.
I know. So she's managing Bob's. So we go to their biggest competitor right down the street, Nick and Sam's, and we spend almost $4,000 on the two of us.
What did you eat?
Whatever we wanted. So they have this thing called the Stairway to Heaven. It's a sampling of 3 ounces of 8 different Wagyu beefs. It's $800 for that entree. They have a $100 a person sashimi sampler that we did as an appetizer. We started out and we had 2 glasses of Dom Perignon. We had
Louis.
We had Louis Trace with dessert.
And a really nice bottle
And we
of
had
wine.
a 2006, I think, Chateau Margaux bottle of wine, which was like, they wanted like $1,800. I was like, you sell me that for $1,200, I'll do it. And they're like, okay. And if you throw in 2 more glasses of Dom Perignon, done. And there was like something else we had, but yeah, with tip it was like.
And their dessert, they brought out like.
And
The waiter was loving
yeah.
that.
He loved it.
Yeah.
And so I think after tip it was like $3,700, $3,650, something like that. And so at $3,000, the tip must have been $600.
Well, here's a
for
shout
a
out.
2-top.
Here's a shout out to Bob's. You will not spend all that money at Bob's. You will get the same quality
I actually
experience.
liked. So the Wagyu that you had at Bob's was awesome. Well, you would get that experience when you were there. I don't know now. They may or may not be as good.
Still
I'm
good.
sure. Well,
I trust them.
that's a lot. If they had that guy that did that Disney thing that we're going to talk about in another episode, maybe not. Maybe the cancer has swept through. But they're all still there, right? So, and you haven't heard anything bad.
I haven't heard anything.
So
bad.
they're doing fine.
I need to go over there and see them.
They're not. You know what? Let's go have dinner there tonight. Want to go have dinner there tonight? Let's do it. So we'll see you at Bob's, although it's not going to be tonight because we don't do this live. Yeah. But we decided earlier that we're going to do a live episode on Fridays. Date in the future, because we're kind of getting the hang of our new podcast. And thank you very much for watching.
Yes, thank
Please
you.
like, subscribe, hit that notifications button.
Yes, we do appreciate it.
So do we think we're going to have like some support us, buy some merch? Are we going to do Lawyer Dana mugs?
You can make a Hardy Har Har cup.
A Hardy Har Har cup.
You know, all the years I've been
married. A picture of Jennifer on it too, a Hardy Har Har.
He was laughing, so he's been watching the intro. He loves the intro. And it is. And he was like, and I was like, yeah, I heard Hardy Har Har my entire life. And he was like, all the years I've known you, I've never even heard of that. I was like, are you kidding
How long
me?
have you been married?
We'll be married 12 years.
12
but
years.
We've known each other since I was 16. So I was like, you're joking, right?
Well, Hardy Har Har, ain't that funny?
Exactly. But going back to the wedding and all that, don't get so infatuated with getting married. Make sure you're marrying the right person.
It is not what you think it is before you get married, after you get married.
You got to find the person that's going to fulfill your needs. I will say.
You need to marry based on values, not on feeling.
I will say that.
Because that infatuation, that attraction, you have to consciously make decisions and intentional decisions of doing actions that cause that to happen. It's essentially like falling in love over and over and over again. When you're falling, it's a complete misnomer, because when you're falling, you're out of control. That's not what it is. That feeling of infatuation, we fell in love. No. You chose to be in love. Right. You choose love. You choose it. And you need to be very cautious that you don't think that you're being led or fell and you're out of control. I can't, because when you're falling, you're out of control. That's not what it is. You can say the words, but you must know, and you must be wise enough to know you're not actually falling.
Well, the values.
You're choosing to be in love, and you can choose to not. And the moment that you have the information that they're not the right person for you, that's the gift that you're looking for. Because what you're trying to do to find a spouse, you're not actually trying to find one. There's plenty of people out there that you're going to have a great relationship with. How many people were in your? I'll show you. How many people were in your high school?
Oh, all together?
Yeah.
Probably 4,000.
Okay, how many were in your grade?
Well, when I started my freshman year, we had 1,000 people, and when I graduated,
out of that 1,000 people,
460 something graduated.
460 out of 1,000 graduated?
Well,
No.
I'm talking. That's just how. Through the years, things just dwindled down. People left, went to other schools or whatever. I'm not saying those people didn't graduate, but I remember our first year of starting freshman year, I remember them saying we had 1,000 kids in the school for us, and I was like,
and then
whoa.
you graduated with 400?
Yeah, it was 470.
And you're interpreting that how?
Huh?
This is going to say more about you than other. Rick gets it.
How does 60%?
Yeah, how does 50% of your class?
To be honest with you, I have no idea, unless someone just said 1,000 and they had it wrong.
Okay, well, we'll go with that.
Okay, let's make it really easy.
Or maybe you didn't go to a very good school. No, we don't want to, I'm just joking. Yeah.
And my graduating class, we had 256.
Oh, okay. See, I thought that we had 800 in our class when I graduated, and I thought we graduated about as many as came. I didn't think we had hardly any dropouts at all.
I went to Mesquite High School, which it's a big school.
So out of that, let's just say 1,000 people, right? Okay. Let's give you the benefit of that, because the fewer people, the more this point is.
Right.
Out of that 1,000 people, and maybe it's out of the ones that graduated, but out of that 1,000 people, was there anybody that you were attracted to? And I'm going to guess there's at least one.
Well, he wasn't in my grade.
Okay, so then 4,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's 3,500.
Well, of course, there's people you like.
Okay, how many people did you like?
Oh,
how many?
I don't really know off the top of my head.
So let's just say it's just Daniel,
okay,
who you happen to find and marry.
Well, first off, I didn't know Daniel until the end of my sophomore year when my friend introduced me to Daniel. That's a funny story too.
Now I want to hear. Now I don't care what I was going to say.
Sidebar. Let's go sidebar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure we come back to that story. But here's my point. If there's 3,500 people and you liked one, right? Okay. So 3,500 times 10 is 35,000. That means there's 10 out of 35,000. Times 10 is 350,000.
Right.
So that's 100 out of 350,000. Times 10 is 3.5 million. So that's 1,000 out of 3.5 million. And then out of 35 million times 10, that's 10,000 out of 35 million. Times 10 is 350 million, which is, where are we at, 10,000? So that's 100,000. There's 350 million people just in the United States. That means there's 10,000 people in the United States that you would have a good marriage and be able to marry, right?
Right.
And you didn't have any problem out of just meeting 3,500 within a 3-year period. You found somebody that you married.
Right.
There's
absolutely.
There's not
I totally see what you're
there is plenty of people that you're going to have a great marriage. So what is the actual process? It's not about finding your soulmate or whatever. That's nonsense.
Right.
There's tons of people you could have a great relationship with. In fact, you're going to meet people after you're married that's somebody I could have a great relationship with. Don't entertain the thought. Move on. I already have a great relationship. I'm not even thinking about it. Right?
It doesn't matter of turning your brain off and saying,
right.
No.
Right. And that's another choice. So, but my point is, it's not about finding the right people for you. There are plenty. It's about screening out everybody who's bad for you and choosing your favorite from who's left over.
And don't.
That's what we do when we pick a jury. We're not choosing a jury. We're not looking who do we want out of this. We get the first 12.
Right.
The reason we're asking questions is to find out if somebody is struck for cause. And then we get to exclude 3 for whatever reason we want. So if it's struck for cause, that means they've already decided based on no information they're already prejudiced against. They're not a neutral jury. They can't actually do the job. So therefore they get excluded. And what we're doing is excluding everybody who's already bad for us, and then whoever's left over by default is good for us. That's what you're doing when you're picking someone to choose and spend and be your partner and spend the rest of your life with.
Right.
You're excluding everybody who's bad for you and then choosing from who's left. That's why eHarmony, who gives you a personality test and only shows you anybody that you might match up with for values, that you meet those people, and they don't introduce you to these people who, they're so hot, I can't resist them.
Right.
They may be a Satan worshiper, I'm a Christian, not gonna work, gonna be horrible, but we can't resist that initial spark and then we can't resist each other and we wind up dead because we drove the car off the cliff. We're going to see you in the next episode because we're going to cut right here and pick it up. So like us, subscribe. Thanks for watching the Lawyer Dan Show.
And don't be too critical of me.
of Jennifer Hardy Har Har.
Yes.
And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
The Lawyer Dana Podcast.